CJ on the track.
Black Scully on check. Got a little workout gear on check. Welcome to another marvelous episode. I tried to go live like 10 minutes ago, and I'm trying a different way to go live. And when I tell you, sometimes it's very frustrating. It's very frustrating, but it is what it is. We gonna make it happen regardless. Like I said, it's just extremely frustrating. I just had to go check my sound to make sure I was good on the sound. But like I said, life be life sometimes. But let's talk about what's on today's docket. We got AP poll, top 25 reaction. And like I was saying in the original video when I was live, it's one of those things where you get to a point in the season that this should be layups. Earlier in the season, when you're trying to calibrate and kind of figure out where teams are, you still need more time to see at this point. I think the contenders and the pretenders start to separate a bit, and we're seeing that in a myriad of conferences. We're seeing it in the ACC, we're seeing it in the Big 12 as well. The SEC is interested in as well as the Big 10 is interesting, because I know that, the Big Three everybody talks about in Ohio State and Indiana and Oregon, but a team like USC isn't getting enough love, to be honest with you. I believe they have quality losses. Yes, Illinois is just outside of the top 25, but also they lost, and the way they lost the game, they had opportunities to win it. And Notre Dame, they scored in the end if you didn't watch the game, but they had opportunities to win that game as well. I think they're a team that could certainly make this cut when it's all said and done, and they'll be able to get an opportunity to prove themselves this weekend as well against a really good Iowa team outside of the top 25 when we start to look at strength of schedule and that type of win. So we're going to really break down this AP poll, top 25. Also, the CFP expectations. We know that the show it's on tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. CFP Nation has a new show, what's called the CFP Late Show. It's something that we're trying to do at least 3 times a week. We have broader thoughts for what we can do with the show as well. We're not there yet, but we want it to be something that's really special for the college football community. So we'll be going live on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday this week. So the Tuesday is at 7. Saturdays is really late. We try to go live at 11 p.m., give you guys live updates, and just really give out instant reaction to how we feeling. It's not as scripted as some of our other shows. Like, this show is definitely one of those ones, but it's fun, it's lighthearted, it's satire, and we just get to talk college football talk in a way that's really dope. So you guys should definitely check that show out. We'll be live on the CFP Nation Twitter, CFP Nation YouTube, and as well we'll be live on my Twitter as well, so you guys can definitely check that out. So CFP expectations is just what my thoughts would be, what and how the CFP will kind of operate. I think last week was kind of a layup. I don't think too many people had issues with it other than a G5 team not being in that top 25. I think that was the overwhelming thought. And then the placement of Texas and Oklahoma, some people felt that they should have been a little bit higher on that list, but it'll work itself out. But I think I have the 12 teams that'll at least be in the playoff. Don't know the top 25 overall. I think there'll be a little bit of debate there, but the 12 teams that'll be in the playoff after this past weekend, I think we have it. We're also going to preview a really good game, Notre Dame versus Pitt. 2 coaches I really respect, and Marcus Freeman and Pat Narduzzi. And I think this is going to be a grand game. I think a lot of people just want to say, all right, we've seen enough for Notre Dame. They're a damn good team. They can run the ball. Carr is real deal at quarterback. Really, a lot of speculation between him and Kenny Minchey entering the season. But, yeah, C.J. Carr is real deal. But I think this game is going to be closer than a lot of other people think. I win USC. Play this weekend. We're going to preview that game as well. And I believe that USC may be that 4th team that makes the CFP from the Big Ten. It'll be interesting to see how it pans out. But don't be surprised if we see 4-4 with the SEC and the Big Ten, or a 5-4 situation, because I think the Big 12, when it's all said and done, there'll be some cannibalization there. They may only get one, and I think the ACC doesn't deserve more than one, to be completely transparent with everybody. And then we got a really good game, Oklahoma and Bama. A lot of people may not remember that was one of Bama's worst losses a season ago, so they'll be out for blood. Really good game. 2 teams that are fighting for positioning for the CFP. So a lot to talk about this episode. Super excited about it. Governor of College Football, hashtag GoCFB. CFB Nation, your only college football destination. Let's get it. Governor of College Football, we're going to recap ACC.
Hey, that's
Two
CJ
great
on
defensive
the
minds.
track.
They have to be better on that side of Alrighty, let's get into the news. A bit to talk about. And I always love our Monday reaction for Into the News because the more we're just reacting to scores and games versus just the latest news as we do on our other typical episodes. But Indiana defeated Penn State 27-24. Definitely was a scare for Indiana and Happy Valley. And when you start to look at the Heisman race and what the Heisman race really means, you need a couple things to work in your favor. You need team success. You need individual statistical success. You need a Heisman moment. And I believe that Fernando Mendoza in Happy Valley got his Heisman moment. What a great throw. Even better catch by Omar Cooper Jr. Toe tap. That was a catch on Saturdays and Sundays for any of those who had any questions. And along the way, you play a team like Penn State. They haven't lived up to their expectations. Coach was fired this year. Along the way, when teams that know you really well, know how to prepare for you, you get a game like this, even with their starting quarterback injured. And they had every reason to win that game. I think that's the difference in between the 2025 rendition of Kirk Cincinnati, Indiana Hoosiers, and the 2024 rendition. Yes, they won a lot of games in 2024, but there were some opportunities that they allowed to slip away. I look at this type of win, the type of quarterback that Fernando Mendoza, that, hey, we haven't played our best ball, but we know that we are the Indiana Hoosiers, and while a lot of people think we was just a microwave success and they don't think it will last, and we think that they'll hit a sophomore slump, that has not happened this year. And I even expected a sophomore slump, to be completely honest with you, but what they've been able to do, how they've got little pieces on the portal that's been able to help this team. You think about a guy like Roman Hemby that they've got, from College Park via the portal, and they can certainly use him at College Park right now. You think of them starting 4-0, just really on the outside, like the cusp of being in the top 25 and losing like 5 or 6 straight games. Shout out to the Maryland Brass. I believe it was 5 straight games. Shout out to the Maryland Brass. To my knowledge, they haven't fired Coach Loxley yet. But I think they believe. I think that they've seen that they're competitive. Probably under than the Indiana game, they were really competitive. But I don't know. You just get games like this, and once you get into your core schedule, you be like, wow, how did this team compete with this team? Or, damn, that team really had an opportunity to beat that team. These are teams that know you. They have so much intel on you. They probably have a good idea of what you're trying to do. And they're going to play two physical teams. And we led into a Heisman moment for Fernando Mendoza. I know a lot of people been Ty Simpson, Fernando Mendoza. To me, Fernando Mendoza just earned that Heisman, in my opinion. He has the team success, has the individual success. You're looking at a guy that's going to get drafted very highly in the 2026 NFL draft. And when you look at that, and then he has to highlight the Heisman, play the thing that they're going to play that second Saturday in December, it'll certainly be that play. So shout out to him, man. It's just truly outstanding way to win a game. And you're just not going to always play your best ball. But when you don't play your best ball and you still have the ability to win games, that's a team that's ready. That's a team that's ready, 100%. Shout out to Indiana, great win. Oregon escapes Iowa City. This one had the writing on the wall. If you were paying attention to it, this one certainly had the writing on the wall. I looked at this game. I said I was going to win this game. For me, it's what Phil Park and company is able to do defensively versus what, Tim Lester and Mark Gronowski and company is able to do offensively. And when you look at two pivotal plays, them not being able to get the 2-point conversion, and then the safety that they got really pulled down to who won this game. I knew it was going to be one of those purest games. Teams really struggled to score on Iowa, and I thought they were trending in the right direction. I thought they were disrespected by the AP poll a week ago for not being in the top 25. And then this is a team with 3 losses by 10 points. And they have quality losses at that. They lost to Iowa State. May not be as quality as it probably once was. Lost to Indiana by 5 points, 20-15. They just lost to Oregon. Shout out to Dante Moore. Championship-level drive that he had to go down there and get that field goal. A hell of a throw on that sideline, that back shoulder throw that he threw. You look at this Oregon team, you look at Dan Lannon. Dan Lannon is one of those guys, he's just cut from a certain cloth. And when you meet somebody who's just cut from a certain cloth, you kind of look back and say, okay, I get it. I get it with this guy 100%. And this team has the opportunity to be special as well. They do have the loss on their schedule to Indiana. But the race for this Big Ten coming down this stretch is going to be really interesting. It does look like a 2-horse race, but don't forget about Oregon. Ohio State is just beating everybody, and they're making it look really easy. I'm not saying that they played this off the schedule. Of course, they played Texas earlier in the season. I would love to see what that game looks like now because Texas seemed to have found their groove a little bit offensively, and then defensively, some of that physicality that's been missing has come back. But yeah, it'll be really interesting what happens in the Big Ten, who's in the conference championship, and then how things work out when we start to look at who's those top 4 seeds, who's getting the bye, the first round, the opening round of college football playoff. Wake Forest defeated UVA. I really, my heart hurts for Chandler Morris to get injured in that game. He is dealing with a concussion. Shout out to Nino who runs out Twitter. So he just got a tweet out. It's pretty much day to day with him, and hopefully he heals up. I think this is just a sign of a team. Tony Elliott certainly has his team trending in the right direction. Love everything that I'm seeing from UVA, but some of the games that you won in overtime, I think about the Louisville game, I think about the Florida State game, and then I look at this game, it's just like sometimes you guys, they had another really close game as well. Was it Cal? I want to say Cal was a close game as well. So when you teeter and then you're trying to get your team going into a direction, hey, we could play with the big dogs. You arrived, we know you arrived, but now you're saying, hey, we could play with the big dogs. A loss like this was devastating for them because they had one thing that really boded well in their direction, the fact that they didn't have an ACC loss, and every other team in the conference had an ACC loss. They got a little bit of help this weekend because Cal was able to defeat Louisville. I'm so frustrated with the ACC, and I know my dog Moon, shout out to my dog CFP Moon, I know he's really ACC through and through, and I'm the same way. Like, ACC has been my favorite. It wasn't my favorite. It was actually the worst media days I went to this past year. But it's been the conference that showed us the most love, so I like to show love back. But I don't know. I think only one team gets in from the ACC. I just think when you look at the overall landscape, I'm not sure more than one team. I would like to see more than one team, but I think in the grand scheme of things, only one team gets in. I think if you look at what's going on in the Big Ten, you look at what's going on in the SEC, when you look at that the latest metric that the CFP has added is that strength of schedule. I think that's where things start to get interesting. Vandy beat Auburn, and DJ Durkin. Auburn, if you don't have your guy as head coach, do not mess this up. Do not overthink this. I know he's a defensive guy. I know they gave him up 45 points, but as you shift from that defensive coordinator to the interim head coach, you can't just go chill with your linebackers and your secondary and your defensive line. You actually got to make sure things are going the way it's supposed to go on the offensive side of the ball as well. But to see the emotion that DJ Durkin had after the game, how proud he was of his team, even in a losing effort, and you guys know, one of my sayings here is no moral victories. That will be the only time you guys will probably ever hear me clear that statement. Nah, that's a moral victory. And that's something that I live by. And I've never done that in the history of this show. This is episode 104. You can check all the other 103 episodes. I've never cleared a moral victory. I've come close to clearing. I've never cleared a moral victory. That one right there was a moral victory. Auburn, you have your head coach. Do not overthink this. Please don't overthink this. DJ Durkin should be your head coach. The fight that they have, the team hasn't had this type of offensive output in a little while. You have your head coach. Don't oversimplify this. And shout out to Auburn. Karkley, that team is really believing that they can win. I forgot who their last 2 games are against, maybe last 3 games are against. But it'll be interesting to see how things shape out for Vandy, as they do have CFP hopes for sure. Wisconsin defeating Washington was one of those things where you guys, I don't know if you guys follow Lethal Shooter. I play 2K. I've even streamed 2K a couple times. I love that video game. Granted, is it frustrating? Yeah, absolutely, especially if you play My Career. I also do dabble with My League, Kobe Earth, to be specific. But a Lethal Shooter has this saying that says, I understand it now. And a lot of times, people make fun of it. Not fun of it in a negative way, but more so like, it's a thing, so, that people just kind of speak on it and say, hey, I understand it now. It's just like a little funny thing. But when I look at this Wisconsin program, and yes, I 100% thought that was a slam dunk hire. Most people say they didn't believe that Luke Fickell was. I thought it was a slam dunk hire. I thought that we're kind of went wrong, and it's easier for me to say this. One, I'm not the coach. 2, hindsight is being 2020. But I thought that for them to take that program that has a rich tradition and being able to have offensive line play, especially in that interior offensive line between the guards and the center, have elite running backs, to take them running backs and put them in a system like the air raid, it was so weird watching them. and seeing them in shotgun. You got a 6'3", 240-pound running back. If you don't get in the I formation and run the rock, or get in a pistol strong or pistol weak and run the rock, like, it was so weird seeing that, to be completely transparent with everyone. But I'm glad that they are where they're at now. This is a really huge victory for the program, and I understand it now. Because so many programs want instantaneous success. They want microwave success. Hey, we brought you in here. Year one, we get it. It's not your players. Year two, well, you're starting to recruit some players, and you better use the transfer portal both of those years. They want instantaneous microwave success. I think Wisconsin has played a long game. Hey, this guy is who we believe he is. We do believe this guy's a great culture builder, and he doesn't quite have the pieces in there. We haven't given him enough resources for this team to win. If you want to win in college football, resources are very important. Schools that have plentiful resources, teams like that are down in Lubbock, and they're willing to open up the checkbook, you can see success almost on the field. Of course, that's transactional, but transformational is being able to develop these players to do what Ashil Wood is doing down there in Lubbock with their defense, how they're playing outstanding defense right now. A lot of that comes with that. So, yes, transactional, open up the checkbook, be able to get the players in the building so we don't use resources as an excuse for why a team isn't good, like we seen the Arkansas AD do when they fired Sam Pittman. He didn't have enough resources to win here. Ain't that on you, buddy? I'm just asking for a friend. I believe that's on you if there's not enough resources there. So don't make resources an excuse, right? So Wisconsin is, I understand it now. You're playing a long game. You do believe in Luke Fickell. A lot of us question it, including myself. I definitely question it. But, okay, I can see it now. I understand it now. You guys are going to take your time with this. But next year, I think they're going to want almost immediate success. I think they're going to open up the checkbook. And it'll be interesting to see how things work there. So that's our Into the News segment. Let's go ahead and hop into our first segment, this AP Top 25. Hope everybody is enjoying their morning. By the way, 9 a.m. is the new time. I know I've been teetering with a couple of different times. I've been teetering with an evening show, been teetering with morning shows, but I want to do more for the CFB Nation platform. So I want to start going live at least 3 times a week on that, and I want to start pushing more uploads. So I think with the late show that me, Moon, and Jalen are doing, and it'll be various. Some days it'll be Moon and Jalen. Some days it'll be me, Moon, and Jalen. Some days it'll be me and Jalen or me and Moon. It'll be various how we do it, but we just wanted something that satire, a little bit more lighthearted, but we can have fun and still talk ball at the same time. So let's talk about this AP Top 25. We got USF at number 25. What a difference a few weeks made. We think about this Memphis loss, right? And college football shows no mercy to no one. Any given Saturday, and of course, we got Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you can lose to anybody. Think about how poorly Tulane played versus UTSA when Omar Cooper went for 31 to 33, 370, and 4 touchdowns. And then they went to a place that I hold near and dear to my heart. I won't bet against Memphis in Memphis. And Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium. I will not bet against them in Memphis. And even when it looks like Tulane was 100% in control, Memphis was able to fight back. I would love to see what a healthy Brendan Lewis would have looked like. A Brendan Lewis that can scramble, because that's his best asset, the ability to make those all-script plays. I would love to see that. But this is a sport where you have to have a great deal of depth. It just is what it is. So the stark disparity between what we've seen with Tulane versus UTSA with Omar Cooper just looked like he had all the answers to the test. And then versus what we seen that following week. This is college football. What we seen in Sean Lewis, San Diego State team. And they just got punished. And I mean punished by Hawaii. That's why I continue to say, hey, I love what JMU is doing. But the rest of people in Sunbelt may make it rough for them. They may a harder when you got like a Georgia State on your schedule, may make it rough for them. You know, you look at the MAC, and it's just a jumbled up situation there in the MAC. And then we look at Con USA, you got 2 new schools there. Your strength of schedules are going to be lower in that conference. Liberty could not win this year with the easiest schedule in college football. That to me is crazy. And why I refuse to go to a game there right now. I am so frustrated with the program. I love that program. Near and dear to my heart. You're so frustrated with them right now. And then you look at what's going on in the American, and you have to say to yourself, the winner of the American has to be the team in the college football playoff just because of the gauntlet that they're going through. The gauntlet for a G5 gauntlet that some of these teams have to go through in the American, bro. Seriously, you got a team like Temple, who's like 5-4 right now. It's a really good football team. They're just 5-4. Why are they 5-4? Well, they played really a lot of tough games early on in the season. They played at Georgia Tech. Oklahoma came near for a game. They played tough games. So we started to look at the strength of schedule, which is the metric that matters to the CFP. We started saying to ourselves, okay, I think the champion's coming out of the American. I 100% believe that. So JMU, we got 2 G5 teams in here. A lot of people believe that North Texas should be in this top 25. I agree. North Texas should be in this top 25. But I believe a lot of people are holding that USF loss against them. And this is why, you guys remember, I used to do a lot of different lower thirds. My favorite lower third now is, what week we on, and do you watch college football or do you just skim through it? That's actually a play on words if you don't know where that came from. That's a play on words from Jay-Z. You know, do you listen to music or do you just skim through it? Like, do you just listen to radio records? Do you actually buy CDs? Do you actually, this is back in the day, of course. Do you take the rapping off of it? Do you look at the little booklet that comes with the CD? Do you try to learn the lyrics and figure out the parallels and figure out the entendres? Like, do you watch college football? So the people who probably didn't watch that North Texas and USF game and don't understand how one play really opened the floodgates and it was a muff punt right before halftime, you don't understand that the game was closer than the score indicated. The score is bad. Make no mistake about it. JMU's look really good. Only loss is to Louisville this past season. And I don't know. I think things are really, really, really interesting with them. I think that teams in the Fun Belt, like a JMU, may struggle with the strength of schedule. I don't know. I just don't know there. Pitt at number 23. Pitt is really interesting. I love what Pat Narduzzi has his team doing currently, and watch out for him. I'm telling you. Cincinnati at 22. Tennessee at 21. Tennessee fans, I talked a little bit about this last week, and I feel like I haven't talked about it quite enough, in all honesty. I think you guys have expectations versus reality, and I think the expectations in Knoxville were still really high because of your belief in what Josh Heupel has been able to do during his tenure in Knoxville. But I also believe that you guys have exceeded expectations this year. Based on, yes, I think Josh Heupel did mismanage the quarterback situation, and Aguilar has looked good for the most part of the year. There's just games he's played awful. And the Oklahoma game was certainly a game that he just did not play well in. Alabama was probably another game he didn't play too hot in. UVA still at 20. Louisville at 19. You started to look at some of these ACC teams, and you started to get sick to your stomach a little bit, right? And you start to say, I don't see more than one team get in. We got Michigan at 18. USC at 17. I have a high faith and belief in USC. I'm telling you, I have such a high faith and belief in USC. Miami at 16. Utah at 15. Georgia Tech at 14. I believe that's the team. If I had to bet today, that will win the ACC. I think they do have more than one way to beat you, even though always include Haynes King putting his cape on. That's the scariest thing about Georgia Tech, and that's why a team like NC State could do what they did in Raleigh. Vandy at number 13. BYU. Everybody doesn't have, one, the amount of money that Texas Tech spent on this defense and a player like David Bailey and a player like Romello Height. But that offense really struggled. And when I was doing predictions for this game, for me, it came down to Sherwood, ability to get stops, and it came down to, I know that even though BYU played outstanding defensively, sometimes the score don't indicate that, but the amount of field goals that they forced in the red area was just outstanding to me. It's just offensively they couldn't move the ball enough, while Matt Leftwich and them were able to move the ball, and that was the difference to me. Oklahoma's, you're right there in the thick of things, right there at 11. We got Texas at 10, Notre Dame at 9. Notre Dame, you got a game this week against Pat Narduzzi and company. And when I tell you there's a coach that live for these type of games, we the underdog, that steel mill mantra of Pittsburgh, and I believe that they do carry that mantra. I told Pat Narduzzi that, and he had the biggest smile on his face. This was at ACC Media Days. We was in the main auditorium. 2023, you guys can go look it up. I definitely asked him, and he actually, we follow each other on Twitter too, by the way, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, you got a game this week, Notre Dame. Texas Tech at number 8, Oregon at number 7. I believe did they go down a spot in the AP poll? Ole Miss at 6, Georgia 5. Great win Great win for them this weekend. Everybody could see like the writing on the wall with a few games this weekend. It was Georgia having to go to Starkville and win in that cowbell environment. Also, it was the Iowa game. You can kind of see the Penn State game. I don't think a lot of people saw, but that Iowa game for sure. In Oregon, I was like, I think Iowa's going to win this game. And they had opportunities. They couldn't put it together, but, another day Atlanta special. Texas A&M, number 3. And if you look at the thumbnail and you're watching this on YouTube, I do have something that says, who's the best team in college football? Well, the writing sort of I think Texas A&M is the best team in college football. And I've been saying this for weeks. I know my dog Nino has said this as well. I look at Texas A&M, and I say to myself, this team has more ways to beat you than 3. They can beat you with their special teams, so their special teams is outstanding. They can beat you with outstanding defense. Colin Klein, why isn't his name in enough coaching jobs? You look at the job, look at his tenure in Kansas State. Look at the success of Kansas State. Then look how the program has kind of dipped a bit. They haven't met our expectations. Colin Klein has a lot to do with that. The scariest thing about them is that Reuben Owens is really coming alive in that running back, and they got 2 running backs. So you look at him, you look at Moss, and then it's cheating. Me and Moon was talking about this weekend, bro. Mario Craven and Casey Concepcion shouldn't be allowed to be on the same team. I'm sorry, bro. It's cheating. You got 2 elite slot wide receivers who's just going to give you business. And then, to me, it's the growth in Marcel Reed, the understanding of the system. He didn't even run much this weekend against Missouri. And I know people are going to say, well, come on, Governor. Bo Perbula didn't play in this game. Got it. I hear you. I hear you 100%. Yes, he didn't play. And yes, Matt Zollers did have a really rough game. But I like what I saw out of Matt Zollers. And I'm not shying away from that. I like what I saw the Vandy game. I know what I saw. I also know what I saw this weekend. But the fact that Marcel Reed was able to do it from the pocket, didn't turn over the ball, they just played outstanding complementary football. I look at this team. I look at the seriousness of Mike Elko. Mike Elko believes that this is a championship-level team. You can just see the attention to details. A fake punt when you're up and you're calling a fake punt. Dude, they are so locked in. Texas A&M is so locked in. This is no disrespect to Indiana. Damn good football team. Ohio State. People who say they're the best team until otherwise, this team ain't lost a game in a minute. You think about the run that they went in and the CFP to win it all last year. Haven't lost a game in a long time. They also haven't been really truly tested in a while too. So I got to see what this team looks like versus adversity. I've seen what Indiana looks like in adversity. They survived. I seen what Texas A&M look like in adversity. They survived. I seen what Alabama versus a really good Georgia team in Athens look like in adversity. I've seen what the team from Athens look like in adversity when they were in a barn burner in Knoxville. I've seen what Ole Miss look like in adversity, right? So when you start, I've seen what Oregon look like in adversity. I've seen what Texas Tech look like in adversity. Seen what Notre Dame has looked like in adversity. I've seen what Texas down 17, and down 21 in Starkville and come back and win the game. This is in the second half. So I've seen what Vandy looks like in adversity. I've seen what Oklahoma looks like in adversity. The only team in the country we haven't seen what look like in adversity is Ohio State yet. They haven't faced enough adversity. And yes, they're a damn good football team. I'm not taking nothing away from them. But if you ask me who's the best team in college football right now, for me it's Texas Tech. Just being real with you. I think they're the best team in college football. You look at the gauntlet that they play in. Marcel Reed, his maturation, Colin Klein is trusting him with more. And the fact that he can stand there in the pocket and deliver, we didn't think that was possible a year ago. He was skittish. Let's be real. Let's be honest about it. I think that down the stretch last year, Connor Wegman would have been better for the team. But for the growth in the future, because you want to win now and win later, yes, I get it. If you want to win now, win later, yes, Marcel Reed gave you that. But Connor Wegman, I thought, would have been better for the stretch. They were so close to being there last year. But the attention to detail that Coach Elko is showing right now, to me, they're the best team in college football. Let's get to our CFP expectations. We kind of talked about it a little bit. Let's get to it now. So, looking at this a week ago, our 12 was Memphis. That's the G5 slot they lost to Tulane, right? 11, UVA. They lost. You know what I'm saying? 10 was Notre Dame. They good. They won. It was easy. Oregon faced a little bit of adversity at 9. 8, Texas Tech. Should probably see Texas Tech move up with the win that they had. 7, BYU, they lost. I think they're out right now. Just being real with you. 6, Ole Miss. Impressive win against the Citadel, but it should have been an impressive win, right? Georgia, outstanding win in Starkville. I love that win for them. Number 4 was Alabama. Number 3, Texas A&M. 2, Indiana. 1, Ohio State. I don't think that changes much. I think the only thing that's going to change is Texas A&M, as far as the top 4, is Texas A&M going to 2, and Indiana going to 3. I think that's the only thing that we'll see this week because of the closeness of the game. I think the committee is going to look at Penn State and how well Penn State played, and I think they're going to look at Texas A&M and going to Columbia and being able to win in the facet that they won in. I know style points is one of those taboos we're not supposed to talk about in college points. Style points matter. It's too soon. We shouldn't be talking about it. Style points matter. Y'all know 100% that style points matter. Make no mistake about it. So let's go ahead and get to what I believe the top 12 was, or what I believe the top 12 will be. And also, I forgot to mention other teams receiving votes for the AP Top 25. Tulane received some votes. North Texas received some votes. Iowa received some votes. Houston received some votes. SMU received some votes. SMU looked damn good. So let's talk about my projected top 12 for this college football playoff. I think this is exactly what we'll see tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Of course, you want to see if your team is in the top 25. Well, I haven't done that for you. But what I will do is say, hey, this is I'll save you the time. Of course, you're going to watch tomorrow because we're college football fans. We're 1%ers. Anybody watching this show is a 1%er, so we all be watching. But I think I have the method, right? So I think the G5 slot they're going to give to James Madison. Do I think that's who will be there once the CFP start? No. I've been consistent in saying this. And I used this parallel on a show this past weekend. And if you get it, you get it. If you don't, you won't. It's okay. I'm not mad. It's neither here nor there for me. But I believe right now what we're seeing in the American, at the group of 5 level, the American is the SEC at the group of 5 level. When you think about the gauntlet you have to go through, each and every week, you could be put to test. You look at a team like FIU, right? That's what I'm saying. FIU supposed to be at the bottom of the American, but they compete, bro. You think about a team like FAU. FAU can put up points. Tulsa beat Oklahoma State. I know that's not saying much early in the year. FAU just put hands and feet on them. We saw the Zach Kitley experiment live in living color. Can't wait to see what this team look like once he started to get the recruits he wanted and get more active in the transfer portal. I can't wait to make another trip down there in Paradise. I really can't. Really can't. So I'm going to, like I said, do this for you so you guys don't got to think about it. Right now, they're going to have James Madison slated at that number 12 spot. USF is a maybe because if they look at that strength of schedule metric, they look at it, they assess it, they may say, hey, USF is probably deserving here. Tulane may be in this spot as well, but I believe they're going to put James Madison. But I'm sticking to my guns. Winner of the American via the conference championship will be at that spot. I guarantee it. Number 11, Oklahoma. Number 10, Texas. A lot of people did have issue with Notre Dame being ahead of Texas and Oklahoma. A lot of people had issue with that. So if they do flip that around, cool. If not, hey, I think they won't. So I think you have Oklahoma at 11. I think you have Texas at 10. At 9, you'll have Notre Dame. 8, you'll have Oregon. 7, you'll have Texas Tech. 6 will be Ole Miss. 5, UGA. Really impressive victory this weekend. UGA did beat Ole Miss head-to-head in a game that Ole Miss should have won, by the way. 4, Bama. 3, Indiana. So remember, I was just telling you guys about the switch that I think that's going to happen. Yes, I think that switch is absolutely happening, and I think you're going to see Texas A&M at 2 and then Ohio State at 1. Indiana has been impressive this year. Nothing against them. Close win, great win. Like I said, that's a Heisman moment for Fernando Mendoza, and I believe he should win the Heisman. I've seen enough to know I believe he'll win the Heisman this year. But Texas A&M is damn good, and they're scary good. And that gauntlet that they go through, it ain't easy. Not saying that Indiana's gauntlet is easy, but I believe it's easier, right? So that will lead these projected matchups for the first round. Of course, the top 4 get a bye. So we'll have whoever the G5 winner is. I think they'll have James Madison in here for now. At Georgia, we'll have number 11 Oklahoma at Ole Miss. We want to see that again, and that'll be inverted because Ole Miss did go to Norman. Outstanding game there. We'll have an old Big 12 matchup between Texas and Texas Tech in Lubbock. Can you believe what that fan base is going to be like there? Amazing. We are not worthy. Then Notre Dame at Oregon. And Eugene, that fan base is going to be crazy too. there as well. So great first round matchups. I believe this is what we're going to see with the bid. I'm interested to see how teams move, like with Virginia losing. Are they going to be out of the CFP top 25? BYU lost. Are they going to be out of there? What do they do with Iowa after, yes, they lost, but it was a close game. They were at 20. Do they take them to like 25, or do they take them completely out? What do they do with a team like USC? I'm interested to see for the rest of the grouping, those, 25 to 13. But I believe here, I think we're somewhere. I think we almost have it here. I can't wait to talk about it tomorrow. We will be live 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the CFB Late Show with me, Jalen, and Moon. It's going to be a really great show. All three of us will be there. And then we have no script. We're just going to react to it live and then talk college football. And I love it like that because we're able to go on tangents. We're able to be, funny and have fun with it. So I'm super excited for it. So we will be live 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow, the CFB Late Show. Make sure you guys check that out. Had a blast doing that on Saturday, by the way. So I believe that's what will be in the bracket just based on what we seen last week. I don't think a lot of us had many complaints about what the CFP did this past week. So I'm good with it. Let's go ahead and get to the next segment, which is our first game preview of the day. Super excited for it. Alrighty. It's about to go down now. Depending your age range, kind of depend on what you call Acrisure Stadium. If you're newer to football, that's kind of what you call. But that's where Pitt play their home games. They play their home games at an NFL stadium. One of the best venues I've been to. I went there last year. Security was crazy, by the way. They weren't playing. There was a lot of people on the sidelines. But just being in that venue, sometimes I have difficulty texting from the stadium in most college stadiums. And there's somebody, I don't know who it is, like when I'm trying to we always do boot on ground. If you follow CFB Nation, we always do those pictures when we go out to games. Boots on ground. That's what we call it when you like put a post. I have such a difficult time sometimes taking a live video or picture and uploading it. Sometimes I have to send it to Nino to get him to be able to do it. But Acrisure Stadium, that wasn't it. But based on your age range, do you call Acrisure Stadium? You're probably really young. Do you call it Heinz Field? Your age range is vast. So do you call it Three River Stadium? I still call it Three River Stadium. I don't know why. I know I'm exposing my age here, but I don't know. For years I've called it Three River Stadium, but we have an outstanding matchup here. And my message for this entire year is we are not worthy, man. We really aren't. You look at Notre Dame, 10th team in the country. Pittsburgh is truly trending in the right direction. I promise you they're trending in the right direction. And I love to see what we have here. This game will be at Pitt, 12 p.m. kickoff. And there's a lot to say about this game. But the Irish lead this all-time series 50-21 with one tie. They've taken the last 4 meetings, but please don't be fooled. This is going to be an outstanding game. And what I'm ready to see is the war of attrition on the line of scrimmage. I think Pat Narduzzi and company are going to bring a great deal of physicality, and it's going to be interesting. Notre Dame got probably the best rushing attack in all of college football with Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price, just outstanding running backs. And Jadarian Price can start for 90% of the programs out there, and I'm probably lowballing it there. So let's say like 93% of the programs out there, Jadarian Price will be the starting running back for them. But, both teams 7-2. Pittsburgh is 7-2. And I think it's just that mantra of they're 7-2 there in the ACC. Who cares? They've had some close victories. They've had some tough losses. That Louisville loss is really tough. If they was 8-1 right now, I think the conversation will be different as it pertains to Pitt. But I think Acrisure Stadium is going to be electric. And one thing about that Pittsburgh fan base, whether it's NFL or collegiately, their fan base is going to give you the business, bro. I remember being at the Syracuse and Pitt game last year, and that's when Syracuse was hot, Pitt was hot. Pitt put hands and feet on Syracuse, right? And I always typically chill on the away team sideline. No matter, what rooting interest I have or where I'm going for. Most of the times you have more access when you're taking pictures or trying to, get content. It's easier to do it on the away sideline. There's not as many security there. So I remember being on Syracuse sideline, and I'm towards the end zone, so I'm probably at about the, between the 15 and 20-yard line, and I'm watching the game from there, talking to my dog, Mike, and at the end of Acrisure Stadium, they have really low-sitting seats. So if media is going to be in front of them, they should be like they're at a basketball game, sitting down and getting or kneeling and getting whatever angles that they need to get. But there was this guy who kept getting in this gentleman's way. And when I told you, he was the male version of a Karen. I don't know. Do they call him? I don't know what they call the male version of a Karen. Do they call it a Kevin? That's funny if they do. That's my real name. But I'm telling you, that fan base is real. And when I tell you he chewed this guy out and then had other fans chewing him out too for probably like 15 to 20 minutes until the security had to tell him to chill out. He said, no. He said, I paid to sit here and I got somebody just right here in front of me that's just blocking my view. I agree with him. I also get it from the media perspective as well. But that fan base will certainly tell you about yourself. Let's talk about these head coaches in the team, Pauls. We look at Marcus Freeman. At one point, one might have said that this Notre Dame team was probably done. After those 2 losses, yes, albeit 2 outstanding teams that they lost to, you just looked at this team and you looked at, the loss to Texas A&M, who's the best team in the country for me, and the game that a lot of people said, hey, Texas A&M was holding on a touchdown call. They also got a kickoff return call back. Like, come on, you had opportunities. Defense is supposed to be your calling call. And your head coach and your defense coordinator, Chris Ash, didn't get the job done. So, yes, they're 7-2. Pat Narduzzi, old school guy. He really represents the city of Pittsburgh. That program really represents the city of Pittsburgh. When you think about the steel mills, when you think about that blue collar, like bring your lunch pill to work. We tough-minded, tough-nosed. I ain't making a lot of money, but I'm about to go here. I'm going to put in 10 hours a day. I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to get a break. I'm going to go home, take care of my family, then wake up the next day and do the same thing. That's the mindset that you get from this Pittsburgh team, especially with Pat Narduzzi as the head coach. And I truly believe that. I believe it 100%. Let's talk a little bit about this Notre Dame team. Like I said, there was a time that I was like, they might be done. But they've showed me they've not done. They've showed outstanding resolve. There was a game that I just thought they were going to lose at USC, and they was just able to handle business. And it was amazing to see, to be honest with you. So we try to lead with the away team here once we start talking about schemes. Mike Denbrock. If there's a chameleon in college football as far as the ability to call plays, it is Mike Denbrock. We've seen him lead back in 2022, 2023. He was LSU offensive coordinator. And if Brian Kelly was able to retain him, he'll probably still have his job because LSU can play defense. It's just offensively they haven't been able to put up points. But that's why I say Mike Denbrock is like a chameleon because we've seen the explosive big plays here, big plays there. Jaden Daniels going for 50, 60-yard runs. That was an explosive offense. Well, he understood, here we have an outstanding defense. We have an outstanding running game. So we're going to run like a pro-style multiple offense built on physicality and play action timing. But we still going to try to get those explosive plays. We're just going to change how we can get them because our running backs can give us explosive plays. So that's why I call Mike Denbrock a chameleon as an offensive coordinator, one of the best in the business, if I'm being honest about it, because that ability to be multidimensional. What we've seen in LSU is not what we're seeing here because LSU during his tenure there didn't run the ball particularly well. They were just a passing attack that could just put up points in bunches and, like I said, led the country in total offense in 2022 and 2023. And we look at them now, it's just different. That ability to adapt is huge in college football. If you can't adapt to this sport will run past you. I like what's going on in Clemson right now with Dabo Swinney. Number one in return of production this year. We thought he was going to have an outstanding year. We thought a guy like Cade Klubnik would be a Heisman finalist. We thought we would be seeing him in New York. That second Saturday of December, and it's just not happening. Yeah. And I believe that's because, not that the game is ahead of him from a schematic approach, outstanding family dude. He really values transformational coaching and being able to develop his players. But, hey, the transfer portal is there. It's like an NFL team not utilizing free agency. And it's not because the resources aren't plentiful. They're certainly plentiful in Clemson. But I believe he'll be forced to change his approach in this offseason. He's going to have to start using the portal. I'm not saying you got to go get 10, 15 players out of the portal, but go get 2 or 3 marquee players that'll really help your program. That can be plug-and-play guys now. Because you need great depth in football. It's a sport of 100% injury. You just need great depth. So, yes, love what Mike Denbrock is doing. And this kid, C.J. Carr, is real deal. 2,200 yards, 19 touchdowns, just 4 interceptions on the season. I think he's done a great job at protecting the ball. And this is not something I would have said, at the beginning of the season. I think he gives them more in this system than Riley Leonard gave them, to be completely transparent with you, as far as being able to make those throws. And Jeremiah Love is real deal. almost 1,000 yards on the season, 13 touchdowns. It seems like each and every week he's just breaking a long run. The kid is dynamic in the pass game. He's a dynamic rusher, and I believe that the running backs are kind of making a semi-comeback at the NFL level. I'll be interested to see what team takes him because you're going to get one hell of a player. You really are. I love this system. I think this system is really based on, hey, what the defense give us, we're going to take advantage of. And then we're going to force you to switch, and then we're going to take advantage of the thing that you were trying to prevent in the first half. Just that ability to adapt, that ability to be a chameleon, that's what you're going to get from a Mike Denbrock coach team. Defensively, I always consider, if you have a defensive head coach, whether he's calling the plays or not, your philosophies are based on his ideologies. I've always felt that way. So while Marcus Freeman is the head coach, Chris Ash is the defensive coordinator, I believe this is deeply rooted in what Marcus Freeman wants to do. 4-2-5, press man principles, zone match rotations as well. This team wants to play physical. They want to win that war of attrition on the line of scrimmage. They want to beat you up. At times this year, they haven't had that ability, and it's been a little bit weird. It's almost, it's probably a bad parallel, but it would be like saying I would give up some of the points that Notre Dame is giving them this year because they've been deeply rooted in their defense. When you think about their CFP run last year, was deeply rooted in the defense and what Jeremiah Love could do, and Riley Leonard making a play here and there to be able to win games. Like, that's what it was rooted in. So I believe this defense has slowly gotten better over the year. I did see a USC team, and I don't know if I'm being biased here because I'm a big believer in Lincoln Riley and USC, but they moved the ball up and down the field on them. Just a terrible play call. Like I said, I don't have a reverse pass in my playbook, and that might have been an install that Lincoln Riley just did. Maybe something that he saw in Notre Dame's defense to call that play, but in the rain, brother, with your wide receiver who's killing them, just throw him the ball. That's how I feel, but hindsight is 20/20. I always like to say that. Defense is decent. They're giving up just under 19 points per game. They're still allowing explosive pass plays. That's what scares me a little bit. I think they're 90th in the country against the pass. They're giving up 232 yards per game, and that's just not very Notre Dame-like. It just isn't, in my opinion. So that's what you get from these teams, from at least Notre Dame, from a schematic perspective. So Pitt, looking at Cade Bell, it's an up-tempo spread, maximizing spacing, RPO efficiency, and they're not afraid to run the ball at all. They're not. So it's interesting. Hey, my dog Jalen in the building. How you feeling, brother? Hope all is well, man. So, we look at this team, and there's a lot to like about this Pitt team. And here's the beautiful thing about Pitt. They're not going to wow you with much that they do, in all honesty. It can be deemed as vanilla. I think it's not vanilla, but I think it can be deemed as vanilla because they're not going to wow you with anything. They're just going to play outstanding football and match the spirit of the city. I just think that's what you're going to get from them, bro. I think they're truly just going to match the spirit of the city. And you just look at this team, and it's a lot to like about them. And I tell you, this fan base is going to really show up. It's really going to show up. I promise you there. Offensively, Heinzel, however you say his name, he got 12 touchdowns on the season, 5 interceptions. Turner got just under 400 yards for the season. Lovelace leads them in tackles defensively, and Scott has the most sacks on his team. And you look at this team, they've been able to, win a bunch of games, honestly. The 2 losses they had, one was the backyard brawl. If you know anything about the backyard brawl, I'm not telling you, I tell you, West Virginia was so hurt in that game, but it was just so backyard brawl. Like, I know they want that one back. And then the Louisville loss. But that West Virginia loss is a really bad loss. But they've had some games they've been able to put up a lot of points. So I think it's a lot to like about this game, to be honest with you. It's not going to wow you. It's not going to take you away with anything that they do. But in the grand scheme of things, I think this team is I wanted more out of Desmond Reed this year, if I'm being honest. That's just me, because my expectations for him were through the roof. And have they been met? No, not with the preseason hype we've been giving them. But it'll be nice to see exactly what he can do. I don't think he's played in all of their games. I think his best performance so far this year was against Duquesne. I'm just kind of surprised they're not using him more, in all honesty. Let's talk about this defense. Randy Bates. He runs that 4-3, 4-2-5 hybrid. It's focused on gap control. front seven leverage and gap integrity. I think this defense is better than advertised. They rank third nationally against the run, only allowing 80 yards per game. This is strength versus strength. We're seeing a Notre Dame team that runs the ball really well, right? Against a defense that say, well, not so fast. We're not going to let you run the well. This is going to be a really physical game at the point of attack. They're top 25 in total defense as well. This is complementary football. I think that's what you're going to get from both of these teams. So let's look at some advanced metrics and some of the key matchups. Yards per play, Notre Dame at 6.5. Pitt is at 6.4. The average is 6.2. For me, for good teams, that's my average. I think if you at about that 6.2 or above, you're a really elite team offensively. Turnover margin, Notre Dame plus 10. Pitt is -1. That may be the biggest deciding factor in this game. Pitt is going to have to force a few turnovers and play mistake-free football. They have to play almost a perfect game in order to beat this team. Red zone offense, Notre Dame, 75%. That's surprising. That's 123rd in the country. And Pitt defense at 78%. That's at 58th in the country. Third down conversion rate, Notre Dame is at 46.9%. Pitt defense is at 34.2% loud. That's a great number. Fantastic number for Pitt. Notre Dame red zone offense. What's going on there? When you think about the run game, you think about how well C.J. Carr has played. Should be getting more 7s than 3s, but we've seen games where they've been able to score points in bunches. I look at this game, and I look at Notre Dame's schedule, and I say, all right, Notre Dame should win out. Notre Dame should be in a college football playoff. But if Notre Dame loses one more game, I don't think they should be in a college football playoff. I'm going to piss off the fans at South Bend right now. I believe Pitt finds a way to win this game. I think they make one more play than Notre Dame does. I believe this run defense is not going to stop them. You can only hope to contain Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price. But if you can contain them and force C.J. Carr and play that success rate game on his 3rd and 6s and 3rd and 7s and force him to beat you, not saying that he's an outstanding quarterback, I think you have a chance. Give me Pitt in Acrisure Stadium, what I like to call Three River Stadium, which you might like to call Heinz Field or even Acrisure Stadium. And we got some scary hours for Notre Dame defense. Yes, for sure. I agree with that 100%, Jalen. I think that's great insight. So, yes, give me Pitt to win this game. Give me Pitt to win this game. I'm not confident in it, but I'm kind of confident in it. Let's go ahead and get to our next segment. Let's talk about this Iowa and USC game. We got a really great game on the schedule. Iowa coming off of a close, gut-wrenching loss. And USC team is that team in the Big Ten I don't think is getting enough love. They're flying kind of under the radar. And then when I look at it, and I say it right now, even though we don't have the 12 right now, I look at it and I say to myself, ACC gets 1, Big 12 gets 1, G5 gets 1. We have the 4, the guys that are going to get the buys, right? And I look at this USC team, and I say this can be a college football playoff team. I say that 100%. Even with the 2 losses, close loss to USC, close loss. Let me try to get this chat in. I'm struggling to see it where it's at. Another chance for me to push the CJ Carr agenda. Hey, I like it, Jalen. I ain't bad at you at all, bro. So let's break down this game. Let's talk about it. So these two teams haven't played in a while, and every time I see an old Pac-12 in Big Ten matchup, I instantly think Rose Bowl. It's just engraved in my mind. I'm not sure I can ever get over it, and maybe I will never get over it. And it'll be dope that the Pac-12 will be added to the G6 ranks next year, or the G5 to make it the G6 ranks. But I always think about that. These two teams haven't met since 2019. And I believe it was a Holiday Bowl, and I will put hands and feet on them in the Holiday Bowl. And 2, I think, great coach teams. I look at what Kirk Ferentz has been able to do during his tenure in Iowa City. And Lincoln Riley, I think this team is better than people believe. I did not think when it was first announced that USC will be going to Big Ten, I didn't think they could play Big Ten-style football, which is ugly games sometimes, close games. Dude, you're just going to have to find a way to win. Like, you're going to have to scratch, claw, kick, throw dirt in somebody's eyes. You got to be willing to win really ugly games. I think they've been able to do that. But USC does lead the series all-time series 7-3, even though Iowa did win that last game back in 2019. Really impressed with USC. I talked about them a lot. Really impressed with what they've been able to do offensively. They're averaging 503 yards per game, 40 points per game. And that tempo is really, they run a fast tempo. I think Ole Miss runs the fastest, one of the fastest tempos in college football. I think USC is right up there. But I think USC probably has a little bit more gears where they will slow it down from time to time. And then Kirk Ferentz, this Iowa team, 6-3, 3 losses by a total of 10 points. That's crazy to me. Really crazy to me. But let's talk about the away team from a schematic perspective. We got Tim Lester, offensive coordinator. It is pro in its identity, but RPO in its style, if that makes sense. Love to do a lot of RPO things with this offense, and I thought that Mark Gronowski would be a great fit here. We saw Tim Lester take huge leaps. They were like 60th in offense last year, maybe 70th, I think, in total offense. And I know you guys are like, well, it's only 68 Power 4 teams. That's not good. Well, that's a step in the right direction where they're from when Brian Ferentz was the offensive coordinator there. But this year, I think they've kind of taken a step back offensively, and this is really a defensive-driven team. You look at what I would like to do from a physicality perspective. But Tim Lester, I'm liking what they're doing. Mark Gronowski only has 1,000 passing yards from the season, 5 touchdowns, 4 picks, and then Moton is their guy running back at 522 yards. And offensively, they don't want to do anything to ruin the game for the defense. That's where they're at. They'll try to put up points. And at times they'll have decent drives, but this team is really driven in its defense. And speaking of which, Phil Parker, their defensive coordinator, 4-2-5 zone discipline with minimal blitzing and elite leverage principles, and they don't need to blitz a lot. They will give you an exotic look. They will give you a mug front here and there, but for the most part, bro, they just gonna play disciplined football. We're better than you. We're gonna win that war of attrition on the line of scrimmage. Our linebackers can tackle one-on-one. Our DB is going to be able to tackle. That's one of the core principles in a Phil Parker scheme. If you can't tackle, you can't play corner here. If you can't cover on the island, you can't play corner here. If you're a safety, you can't come down in that box and make plays and get tackles for losses. You can't play here. It doesn't matter how many people that graduates. It doesn't matter how many people they send to the next level. Phil Parker is just able to teach outstanding principles and discipline and gap integrity, and they're able to win the game from that side of the ball. I'm really love what they bring to the table from a physical perspective. And this is a strength on strength. You got USC's explosive offense versus this great defense at Iowa, and something's going to have to give. That's what I'm excited for. And to play a wet, rainy, cold game that they just played and then have to go to the California sunshine, that'll be easy too. Interesting to look at. So Lincoln Riley is the play caller here. I think Luke is also listed as an offensive coordinator. It's air raid, tempo, control, precision, spacing, precision passing, and the ability to run the ball is what we've seen as of lately out of this system. Jada Mahava, outstanding. 2,600 yards, 17 touchdowns, 66% completion percentage. Makai Lemon is just outstanding. He's a dog. He's going to make himself some money on Sundays. He really is. And then King Miller, he gives them some physicality, and he's a home run hitter as well from the running back. But they got a running back by committee. They're second nationally in total yards, 7th in scoring. Red zone precision, they're at 93.3% in the red zone. That is outstanding football. I love to see it. So defensively, it's that 3-4 hybrid, DeAnton Lynn. There's a reason they wouldn't got him from UCLA. Alex Grinch couldn't get stops. You couldn't pay that man to get stops. Just couldn't, because they were awful. We seen a guy like Bear Alexander who just kind of didn't work in that system. Now he's at Oregon and he's looking outstanding. But DeAnton Lynn comes from the Don Wink Martindale system. And what do you know about Don Wink Martindale? Don't blink. We're blitzing, right? And he comes from that tree, so they're not afraid to blitz. I think they're very much of a bend don't break style defense, but they're still not there. But they'll disguise their pressures and the simulated pressures as well. They're matured a little bit, I think. They allow 21 points per game. USC speak, they ain't bad at all. But yeah, it's all about gap discipline. That hybrid, the ability to blitz, you better be able to cover on the back end as well. Alex Grinch was allergic to defense as a defensive coordinator. Facts. I think that's a great parallel, Jalen. So let's talk about some of the CFP metrics and key matchups. Yards per play, USC 7.3. I say good teams are what, 6.2? I was at 4.7. They're not good offensively. They ain't even below average offensively. That is poor at the collegiate level. NFL level, some teams will take that. But 4.7 yards per play. USC is averaging almost 3 yards per play than them. Turnover margin. As great as the defense is, I was only +1. USC's +3 on the season. Red zone offense, USC is 93%. That's 11th in the nation. I was at 91.9%. That's 20th in the nation. Third down conversion, USC is at 51.3. USC is able to win games because they're able to play the success rate game. Lincoln Riley wants to get yards early on down, so third downs are easier. And then Iowa's defense, 29% allowed on third downs. That's 8th. This is another strength on strength. So Iowa 5th nationally in third down conversions at 51%. Right? Iowa's defense is 8th, right, at stopping them, 29%. That's a key battle. That's something that we need to watch for. Can the tempo of USC get to this Iowa defense? And we haven't seen this defense break at all. I'm not even sure if this team has given up more than 20 points this year. I need to fact check that. I'm about to fact check that right now, but I don't believe they've given up more than. And if they have, I'm trying to figure out to who, because they just don't give up points. Oh, they did. They gave up twice. They gave up 28 to Rutgers. That was in New Jersey, and then they gave up 24 to Penn State. But other than that, it's low scoring games, really low scoring games, and that's one of their bread and butters. I wonder if this is one of those weeks where USC's tempo really gets to them. It's kind of pressing on my mind right now. So who I think won this game, I really love what Iowa brings to the table. I think after the heartbreaking loss they just suffered this week, cold, wet atmosphere, and go to a really hot, stuffy atmosphere, I like USC to win this game. I think USC scores 31. I think Iowa scores 17. Give me USC 31-17. I could be completely wrong about this, but I don't know. I think I'm kind of confident in this pick. Give me USC to win this game. They will put up points, and I think they will put up points in bunches. That may come back to get me, but we will see. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just my prediction, right? All right, let's go to this last segment. Let's get to this next game. We got Oklahoma versus Bama. These are playoff games. Once we start looking at this, the playoffs have started. They will give up 24 to Illinois if they played. That's for Illinois if they played. Yeah, the playoffs have started for both Bama and Oklahoma. This is a must-win game for both teams. I know Alabama has a little bit more wiggle room, but they do have that bad loss to FSU. But Oklahoma, you were idle this past week. You have to come in here and handle business. Let's give a little bit about the background of this game before we start talking about the X's and O's aspect of it. It's a 3:30 kickoff, ABC. Outstanding game. Haven't met often, but now that Oklahoma is in the SEC, these two teams will be playing a lot more. Oklahoma surprisingly lead the all-time series 4 wins to 2 with a tie as well. And then they were able to win last year's games as well. But two outstanding defenses. You know what you're going to get with a Brent Venables defense. You know what you're going to get with a Kane Womack's defense. And I'm excited for both of these teams. Let's talk about head coaches and team pulse. Kalen DeBoer, 8-1. August 30th, 6 p.m. Heartbreaking loss. Not even heartbreaking. They got hands and feet. It was a murder on a gridiron. How are you feeling about this Alabama team? 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, maybe even 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. August 30th, how did you feel about Alabama football? How do you feel about Alabama football now? Because I look at this Alabama team and I say to myself, this ain't going to win it all. I really do believe that. They can truly win it all. They do have some moments where I'll be like, what are you doing? But I think this team can certainly win it all. And you look at what Kalen DeBoer is doing here, second year, you're starting to see, I think, discipline. I think the ability to have Ryan Grubb there as your offensive coordinator has helped immensely, while Nick Sheridan is still on your staff. I think it's helped as well because you get to see it from his perspective. Because the systems are close, but they're a little bit different. And then we look at Brent Venables. I believe he was truly on a hot seat heading into the season because Oklahoma exhausted every resource to make sure the success was almost guaranteed this year. How did they do it? They went and got a GM by the name of Jim Nagy to say, hey, he can recruit. He recruited for the Senior Bowl, for crying out loud. He got players who were probably UDFAs or 7-rounders, some of them of which, and got them moved up by coming to the Senior Bowl and those players being able to show, hey, we can really play. And he did a great job at picking players at all levels of the sport, whether it's FCS, whether it's G5, whether it's, Power 4. So you go get a guy like Jim Nagy. Then they wouldn't say, hey, let's go get a guy like Jaden Ott. Jaden Ott has not helped this year at all. He struggled his last year in Cal, and he's struggling now. Go get a guy like Ben Arbuckle as your offensive coordinator. You need an outstanding offensive coordinator after the Seth Luttrell thing from last year. It just didn't work in Norman. It just didn't. Brent Venables knows, hey, I can coach this defense. I know how to play defense. Our defense was outstanding last year. Our offense was the opposite. It was the antonym for what good was. The offense was abysmal, 100%. It was bad. And when I look at what this Oklahoma team has been able to do, they've been able to minimize excuses. You know what I'm saying? We are in the business of eliminating excuses. When you're a head coach in college football, that's what you are. You are in the business of eliminating excuses. If you can eliminate excuses and you're not like what they're doing down there in Fayetteville and say, hey, we didn't give Sam Pittman the resources to win, then you're giving people excuses then. But in college football, you are in the business of eliminating excuses 1,000%. That's the business you are in. You're eliminating excuses. So I love what I've seen out of both of these programs so far this year. Sooners ranked 7th defensively in total defense. They're 4th against the run. They're going to play physically. If you're going to play for Brent Venables, you're going to play with a great deal of physicality, or you're not going to be able to play in the system. And offensively, they've struggled a bit down the stretch. Looked really good earlier in the season, but down the stretch they struggle a little bit. Let's talk about Ben Arbuckle. He runs an air raid inspired system. It's a vertical system, aggressive spacing and concepts, and they're not afraid to sling the ball, not afraid to take shots, and also they're not afraid to run John Mateer. I think they've tried to scale that back a little bit since the thumb injury, but all in all, hey, not too bad. John Mateer, there was once upon a time when he was looked upon as one of the favorites for the Heisman. That has dipped. 8 touchdowns, 7 interceptions on the season. Probably came back too early, if we're being honest. I think he probably came back just a little too early. But when you're a competitor, you're going to want to compete. No doubt in my mind, that's what you're going to want to do. So we look at this team, and we see that there's this elite quarterback. He does have another year of eligibility. That's what I was just checking. I think it could help him if he came back another year. I really do. But, some people want to strike it while the iron's hot. But he's able to run the ball really well. I just don't know what this team's identity is rooted in offensively. And part of that is just having the inability to run the rock as well as they need to run a rock. And I don't think they have that bona fide number one rusher on their team. That's just me speaking 100% transparently. I don't think they have a bona fide rusher on this team. And that's the thing that scares me about them. Like, are they a good running team by committee? Yes. Would you add Mateer to that equation? I just don't know. I really don't. I look at this team, and I say if you point out one weakness, I think it's the ability to run the ball. I really do. I like a lot what this team have to bring to the table, but, like, who's the number one? You got John Mateer with 306 yards. You got Xavier Robinson, who I think many people probably deem as the best back. He is averaging 6.4 yards per carry with 300 yards. You got Torrey Blaylock with 94 yards. Jaden Ott only has 21 carries on the season. Dude, he was supposed to be the guy that you brought in that was going to be really successful. And then Tatum only has 1 carry on the season. That was the stud guy that they brought in the backfield. So I'm a little bit concerned about that. I do have a little bit of concern about that, as it pertains to Oklahoma. Their ability to run a rock, they're running back committee crew, absolutely. But also, I would love to see, and hopefully John Mateer is 100% healthy for this game, and I need him to play a little bit better offensively. Let's talk about the defense. To me, this is a Brent Venables scheme. Todd Bates is listed 4-2, 5 multiple with 3 safety structure and heavy disguise. And Peyton Bourne was a guy I was really high on heading into the season, and he hasn't disappointed. He's playing outstanding. This Oklahoma defense has been elite 14.1 points per game. They're 4th against the run, 7th overall. And this unit flies to the ball, bro. When you look at some of these good defenses, you start to think about the run fits. You start to think about a team. It's poetry on motion. Everybody moves like one. If there's a run to the right, everybody flows a certain way to the right. If there's a run to the left, everybody flows to a certain way to the left. It's just outstanding in discipline. That's what you see with these great defenses. And I love what they're doing. So I think they're going to try their best to confuse Venables. The way that they confused Jalen Milroe a season ago. They are going to try to confuse Ty Simpson and make things really difficult for them. We always talk about the way that Matt Patricia and Ohio State disguise their coverages. Yes, best in the country. I think Brent Venables does an outstanding job at that as well. So let's talk about the home team. Let's talk about Alabama. I did watch a little bit of their LSU game this past week. Wasn't overly impressed. Yes, they were able to handle business and win the game. There's this thing. There's something about Alabama that bothers me a little bit. I think they're a really good team. But sometimes I think they play with their food a little bit too much, bro. Hey, go kill. That's what I want this Alabama team to do. Go kill. But it's a spread efficiency system, blending RPO balance and vertical stretch concepts. That's what Ryan grew up. That's what we're going to get for him. Ty Simpson is playing outstanding. 21 touchdowns, just an interception on the season, 246 yards. He's definitely in the Heisman conversation. Some people probably has him favored as the Heisman. I believe Fernando Mendoza just had his Heisman moment. If Ty Simpson got it, would I complain? Absolutely not. But I believe personally that Fernando Mendoza just had his Heisman moment. And while Ryan Williams gets all of the credit in this wide receiver room, Jeremy Bernard has just been a consistent guy. I do love the kid Horton, too, that they got from Miami. 605 yards, 6 touchdowns. He's their go-to threat, bro. He really is. And I like what James Miller brings to that backfield. They convert 47.6% on third downs. That's 21st in the country. And 92% in the red zone. That's outstanding. Does Alabama offense concern you? So that's one of the questions I have in chat right now. Shout out to my dog, Jalen. Yes, it does concern me. Granted, albeit they was playing a really good defense this weekend in LSU, but at times the 3-and-outs, the 4-and-outs, 5-and-outs, it's concerning. It really, especially I think Ron Grubb's scheme is based on rhythm, like what we seen in Washington with Michael Penix and company. It's such a rhythm-based scheme. Sometimes, yes, this offense does frustrate me. Did it frustrate me versus Vandy? Yes, they won the game, but did it frustrate me? Absolutely. But the game that it didn't frustrate me, though, I'll tell you that, is the Missouri game. I was super impressed with them. And I thought that Ty Simpson in that game had some Heisman-worthy plays as well. So, yes, offensively, sometimes this team does frustrate me. Defensively, Kane Womack, huge fan of this guy. I thought this was a guy that was going to actually, him and the Glenn Schumans of the world, was going to actually get opportunities to be in a coach's carousel this year. I think they'll get some looks, but because there's so many major names that were head coaches that were fired this year, I think this coach's carousel is probably going to be one of the wildest ones we've seen in recent history. They run that 4-2-5 swarm. It's built on pursuit, leverage, hybrid discipline. But the thing that you have to be able to do with this team is tackle in space and be able to be balance. You got to be able to stop the run, but you also got to be able to stop the pass when you see a lot of these SEC offenses. So it's quietly pretty good. They're only allowing 303 yards per game. Not bad. That's 13th in the country in scoring defense. Secondary has played really well. They're 10th against the pass. I'm not mad at this. And then their front four, you have to have the ability to win one-on-ones if you're a part of this Alabama front four. And it's interesting how it's changed over there because you usually just run 3-4. And it's like a 4-2-5 multiple if we're being honest. But they like to call it a swarm. So I love what they're doing defensively. Some of the key metrics for this team. Yards per play, Alabama's at 6.2. I think that's where good teams are at. Oklahoma's at 5.2. That's not good. But part of that is the inability to run a ball, and part of that is inconsistencies in a passing game. That's not what you expect from a Ben Arbuckle scheme. And I know some people say, well, they were kind of at the G5 ranks last year, if that's what you want to call it, with Washington. But Washington played a pretty challenging schedule, in my opinion. They're playing Washington State, that is, played a pretty challenging schedule as well this year. A lot of it is just execution. And, if John Mateer healthy, that guy can deliver. I believe in his team. Offense does frustrate me, just like Alabama's offense frustrates me sometimes. But both of these teams are rooted in discipline and having the ability to play defense. Red zone efficiency, Alabama's at 92%. That's 16th in the nation. OU is at 84.2 allowed. That's 67th in the nation. To me, that's a strength versus a weakness in the red zone. And for Oklahoma defense, you wouldn't think that will be it. But, it is what it is. Third down conversion rate, Alabama's at 47.6. Offensively, OU defense is at 36.8. That is a great number. So for both of those teams. In the time of possession, Alabama 17th, 32. I think elite teams, if you want to win some games in the SEC, is at around about 33. Sometimes 34, depending on it. And Oklahoma's at 30, which is 68th in the country. I love where Alabama's at. They force turnovers. This team is going to force a lot of turnovers. They're trying to win the game in both offense, defense, and special teams. I'm pretty torn on who wins this game. I really am. Because something tells me we may get some material magic this game. On the road, against all odds, you've had a bye week. You've had to see this team play. And you saw them not so hot against LSU. They won the game. Make no mistake about it. And that's what's most important. But they didn't play too hot, in my opinion. So I look at this game, and I think we'll get some material magic. But I can't go against Bama. I believe that Kalen DeBoer has his team where they need to be. Give me Alabama to win this game. But it's a close one. I think this game's going to be better than advertised. So that's our show for today. Really, really fun episode. I truly enjoy doing this. I enjoy the preparation process just as much. I'm normally, when I'm writing my notes and all of that, I'm typically listening to music while I'm doing that. So I enjoy that process very much. We will be live tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, with some of the new stuff that I'm trying to do to get more content on CFP Nation. I'm not going to be live as much as I was in the offseason. Hopefully, I do get back to those 5 days. So it'll be 3 days from now. Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. Sometimes a Thursday or Friday, it depends. So make sure you're subscribed to @Governor College Football on YouTube, @LeverKT on Twitter. Also, make sure you're subscribed to @The CFP Nation on Twitter and @The CFP Nation on YouTube as well. And we will be going live tomorrow night for the CFP Late Show, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will be live tomorrow for Governor College Football at 9 a.m. as well. And I know Nino is making some adjustments to the house, so the moment he's finished, we'll be back with Overreaction Monday. Can't wait for that. As I always like to say, there are no more victories in the sport that survive and advance. That's why college football has the greatest regular season. Until next time, you all take care, and we shall see you soon. Governor of college football, we're going to recap ACC.
Hey, that's
Two great
CJ on
defensive
the
minds.
track.
They have to be better on that side of the ball.